Well, hello again. This is Johnny
And Patrick?
with Jubilee Church, Trumpet of Jubilee Ministries, and we feel compelled today, or I did, to talk about kids and guns because it has been so briefly since now the murders at the school in Florida carried out by a youngster. Maybe he was barely out of school or whatever. Very sad, very, very sad that this type of thing's going on.
Yeah. Well, what I want to say about it is that as parents, this is the general notion that there are things that your kids can get into that can be big time problems, destructions, hurts, tragedies. You can't protect them totally from that kind of thing happening, but you can give them some means of dealing with it, preparation for it, minimizing it. And I'm not thinking so much of the school shooting, but just being able to handle things that are dangerous. They're going to run into big knives or an axe or a gun or something in their life. And if the only training that you've given them is you don't even know what that is because we've kept it away from you, you haven't helped. What would really help is showing them how to be safe, how to use a knife safely without cutting themselves. Maybe in your world axes don't show up, but in my world they do. I cut firewood for my wood stove to heat with, so everybody in my family knows how to use an axe without hurting themselves. The answer was not to keep them away from axes. The answer was to show them how to use it safely. Same with guns. I live in an area where if you have any notion of protecting yourself, the gun is the thing you're going to use. The answer is not don't let a kid have any notion of even what a gun is. It's show them safety with it, show them what it's about, because their curiosity will make them want to explore it. And if it's a big taboo no-no, then you know what kids do when you give them a taboo, sorry. Taboo.
What do they do?
They're going to secretly explore it. You can't prevent that. In fact, the worse you make it a taboo, the more likely that that's going to happen. If you take away the curiosity, say, here's what it is, here's how it works, it's a big deal, but it's not a big. It's not a snake that's going to jump up and bite you no matter what you do. It's a thing, and things can be manipulated safely. And you take the curiosity away, and they may at that point go, yeah, I know about guns, and they don't want to do anything more about it.
Well, another example of that would be snakes. Since you brought snakes up, we were I am from Texas. I spent a fair amount of time on the ranch in Texas as a youngster, and there were rattlesnakes out there for sure. I'm telling you, we had a fair amount of rattlesnakes, and so we weren't taught to, when we were really little, just anything but to watch. They'd say watch for snakes or look out for snakes. Didn't really care what kind of snake it was when you're little. It was just like if you see a snake, go the other way. And then by the time we were 10 or 11 or 12, it would be, hey, if there's a snake out there, we got to know and it needs to get dealt with. So run the other way if need be, but we're going to deal with it. So by the time you'd be early teens, you would be a bona fide snake killer. Okay, you didn't run from snakes because you'd seen them killed so many times by that time that now you were a real snake killer. And I know for all you snake huggers, that sounds like a terrible thing to do. But believe me, we have not extincted the rattlesnake population yet, because there's plenty more where that came from. Because for every one you see, there's probably a dozen you would not see. But anyway, so the kids, I was amongst them, were trained how to deal with a snake, ultimately. Not when they were 2, but certainly by the time we were 12, we knew how to deal with a snake. And swimming comes to mind, okay?
Because another thing that's potentially dangerous.
We had ponds, we call them tanks down in Texas, for the stock to water in, And so you would get down there, play around, and we had a spring, a beautiful freshwater spring feeding those things, it'd be a great place to swim on a hot day. Wow. However, now you could drown in that thing too. So we weren't ever told to stay clean away from the tanks, but of course I was always supervised, I guess. But nonetheless, it was you stay on the edge, you don't go out to the middle, blah blah blah, and then ultimately we were taught to swim. I was never a great swimmer. But then I was taught better than to attempt to go across the tank or the pond with my limited swimming skills too. So point being, and we'll get to the guns soon. So we know the title is kids and guns or something to that effect. But anything that can kill you, anything that's that kind of dangerous, you don't just avoid. You should master it. And so for kids, whether it's swimming or rattlesnakes or what it is, or guns, simple avoidance, as Patrick pointed out, is not the safe way to turn your kids loose into the world, because then they're ignorant, and ignorance can kill you about as quick as anything can.